So the first thing I just wanted to say is that appreciate everybody coming out on this extra workshop. I think this is going to be a valuable few minutes. I do want to let everybody know that I'm very cognizant of our time as board members. It takes a lot of time for us to work through these applications. And so I don't take it lightly that I need to meet outside of our normal hours. And the other thing with our schedule being such, I don't really, to me, there's no such thing as my whole day is dealing with emergencies, like all day. There's no such thing as a planning board emergency. And so while people want to rush to get before us, I think we need to put time limits on how long you actually spend here. The other night when we were here at 9:30, that was a bit much, and I'm gonna put hard stops at 9 o'clock. Nothing we need to do past 9. My brain is mushed by the time 9 o'clock rolls around. I can't think straight. And if we can't fit everybody in by that, then they just need to come before us at another time. It's not fair to us, to you guys, to me, to try and squeeze everybody in. I do not see these cases as emergencies that can wait another month.
So not fair to the applicant will especially
Right. I'm open to ideas about that for sure, but I think especially as I see us being busier and busier, we really need to be cognizant of our time for these board meetings.
Can I ask a question? It actually that I think sometimes when there is a town citizen in here, we sometimes have public comment way at the end of the agenda, and I think that's good because first the applicant gets to see their case, so we're not asking questions that are about to be answered, but at the same time, sometimes we move that public comment up. And I see that as also a place where we want to give everyone a voice and a fair voice, an equal voice, but then if it's sitting at the bottom of the agenda, it's also a time, it might become a time issue. So I don't know if we can also think as we head into a couple of applications coming up. I don't know if there's a rule about public comment has to be, but maybe also positioning public comment in a way that we know where it is. Yeah, it's not something we move around in the agenda, and in all fairness, it's just something I know.
Yeah, I don't know, but one, we don't need to have public comment. So
Okay.
Two, I don't know the best way to fit it in because we don't want to let public comment sidetrack us. Russell being, he's here all the time. He wants to make comments, and I feel the need to let him speak, but sometimes that kind of throws off the rails a little bit. And so I'm trying to run the meeting efficiently, and I don't know the best place. We had the gentleman speak on wetlands. Was he going to wait 3 hours until the end of the meeting? I don't know. I'm open to suggestions. So I've been kind of, if I feel like somebody wants to say something, even though it's not the appropriate time, I'm kind of trying to be flexible about that.
And I very much appreciate it. I just, yeah, it's one of those things that might become more of an issue. Yeah, as we move through some of these.
So maybe after each major project, just layer it in. That we
Yeah.
have comment
On that specific things.
Project, public comment.
Yeah.
Also limited to 3 minutes.
Yeah, right.
2 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
We've been asked to really be careful about the microphones when talking because it's the last meeting. The recording didn't pick up a lot of voice.
Was my mic not on?
Yours is good, yes.
I mean, we're all talking.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe, is yours on, Brian? Yeah, so everybody's is on, good, okay. Do we just keep it on? No, because I didn't.
Yeah, it's probably best. I leave mine on the whole time. But just, yeah.
A lot of the discussions from the audience.
Right, and so we'll need to be better about having people come up. I don't know.
I think that's the main thing. Even when somebody speaks and we're answering, don't,
You don't hear the question.
So back to, your original point of, taking one thing at a time or putting, latecomers off. I think in the ordinance, there's a timeline. So if somebody gets their application in the timeline that specifies in the ordinance, I think we're obligated to put them on the agenda.
I disagree. It may, because we're not gonna,
No, like, absolutely. But if we have too many projects on the agenda, we can just put timelines on.
well, that doesn't make sense. I get it, but the problem with that, for example, with this project coming up, we have a time. The Brady project has a time. We need to wrap that up. And so that actually takes precedent. If we don't wrap that up, we run into problems from the ordinances. Like we either have to ask for extension, or some other things have to happen. So however long that takes, like I can't put a 30-minute, an hour time limit on that because I don't know how long it's gonna take us to go through all the material there. So when Matt, right before he left, and this is kind of what I'm going from, he anticipated us being busy. And he was going to limit how much we were taking on at a time. And I fully agree with that because we need to be focused on projects and we just can't take everything on all at once. Yeah.
I'm wondering if we should, if just for this particular request for to be on the agenda, whether we should just take a poll and see if people are willing to come in 2 weeks after the regular meeting to get, at least get that project done for a workshop.
No,
Okay,
no, hard
just
enough.
takes one though.
No, and I'm saying that and that's why I brought it up. It's not an emergency. I don't care what his perceived emergency is or why the push. I get it, he wants to get this project going. But I am not taking our time and coming in to do a workshop for an applicant. I don't think that's fair to everybody. I think it's one thing to come in here and meet together so we can work out town stuff, because this is really important that we work through these little bits for the town. But again, an application, I don't see, am I wrong? Is this an emergency? Like is he waiting on some deadline? That is.
That's not an emergency, it's just a big request to be on the agenda. And even headline.
It's unfortunate. If he had put it in 2 months ago, it would have been no problem, right? But he's at the bottom of the list, and I don't see how we get to take care of him on in October, and I don't see why it's that big of a deal until November.
And he asked about it, but there wasn't any sense from us that, oh, I want to get this going, we've got to get it done. I'm sure he'd love to get it done, but it's really a second sketch plan. It's not something you're going to review in depth. So I understand.
Do you want more than an hour? When we talked last time, right? If you catch you at 8 o'clock and you get down, like drift to 8:30 on the other stuff. It's all instead.
But that's so.
Yeah.
Don't forget, we're starting at 7.
We're starting at 7 because we've got that, and this is why I'm just like, no, like hard now. He's not going on the agenda because we've already got, a full days of work. At our job. We've got the sidewalk at 5, got the public hearing at 6, we start the meeting at 7. We have got to get Brady done. Yeah, we got to get Brady done. So even if that takes 5 minutes, which it won't, and we end up having time, I don't think it's fair to say to the applicant that we might see, because I'm guessing that we just won't have time.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be realistic.
I don't think it's realistic, and I'm not putting you guys through that for something that's is just, it's not necessary. In my humble opinion.
Because what are we, probably we're halfway through the Brady package meeting?
Yeah,
So,
barely.
so 1 hour is gonna take a lot of time.
Yeah, so I'm gonna take that as my prerogative as chair. You know. One of the advantages, I guess. Public hearing at 6. So here,
Here's a copy of the.
for the next meeting.
Oh, I didn't get the agenda.
No, the agenda's coming next. month.
Yeah,
I only have one copy, but that's close enough.
That all being said, move on to workshop.
yes, yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. We'll go ahead and just dive into the lot density. You say you want to just review that real quick, and you haven't made any changes since the last time we talked about this.
No, and I had sent on to Todd, the latest version that Brian had done. I think that was before, I think that was back in August, and I sent that along.
7:29.
So was it 7:29? Yeah. So that's the one, that is, I think, the most recent that we're talking about is that particular version. And I think it's very clearly laid out. I defer to Brian because I think there are some, especially with, I'm not sure if there's some things that need to be spelled out or we all need to have an understanding of, particularly the right of way. Calculating into all of this, when we're talking about a road. And then I think just making sure that we have an understanding of what we're expecting to see between what would have existed in the old and then what this is requiring of the applicant to show us the new. To really get a sense of, we're actually not changing the amount of allowed parcels dramatically here. And I think that making sure we see that visually as part of this. Brian, what else am I missing there in terms of why we need to do this?
I think that's the key, is that it's trying to be density neutral compared to the old major subdivision rules and eliminate. And it's just clarifying all the disparate pieces that are scattered to other parts of the ordinance. In terms of 90,000 square feet of a lot. Well, this is, I think, the right of way pieces we should discuss. But it's not a kind of paper exercise that said, here's the boundaries of my property, and then just drawing all roads through and just saying that. Here's 90,000 square feet, it has to be that residential, it has to be 4 to the space of dimensional site. Page 45.
Both of you so far have mentioned referring to the old major subdivision, the way the ordinance is written, it's based on the minor subdivision.
And that's what it says in the document. And I think the document reads fairly easily. And I think it's it makes it a lot more straightforward on how to calculate the lot density.
Yeah, I think, the next topic right is ordinance changes. Yeah, I think in the lot density section, you need to add lines to that is actually in the tile, all those pieces.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right, so it, we do get major, but the idea was when we replace the major with conservation, we're going to build off the minor, so that the major has to be plus the minor. That's what's left.
So devil's advocate here, so if you were to go with the old major, you would get a lot more lots, but maybe not a lot more than that, but you get more lots than you would by using one. Because the road length is different. In the old major subdivision, there was no limit to the road length.
I thought it was.
If you had, there, it was if you, like, so, for example, the subdivision that's across the street from me, Merrill, they could, under the old major, they could have put a road from Merrill all the way over to Elm. And then they could put, a ton of houses, you know, every 300 feet, as long as they have road frontage, so technically, we've eliminated that from that possibility from the ordinance.
Which is similar, to what could have happened between Poland Range Road and Brown.
That's right. Right, so in a sense, Tim's right, that we're really just following the minor subdivision, because we eliminated that. Whether intentionally or unintentionally.
So I think that's the intent, and the ordinances are right. If it wasn't intent, maybe we should look at it again, and figure out a way to change
This definitely had our intent, used to 9 to 12 months out, so that was. I don't know the exact reason for that, but I think that it fell a couple times that we doing horseshoes.
Yeah, right.
Just trying to,
Right,
it's about this,
right,
and conform to the comprehensive plan. It's kind of the drive.
right. But what we inadvertently eliminated was using that model to calculate lot density for better or for worse. So not necessarily, our intention was net neutral, but we've actually reduced the number of homes that a developer could have built.
Possibly, I remember, I don't know,
Yeah,
mastering things that. It's 100%, really could. Because it was discretion, I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
It's balanced. So,
Right.
You got,
yeah, and that was gonna be my point as well, that it is what it is right now. And if we did want to revisit that, that would be down the road. That would have to be down the road.
And I think we should revisit it, because for a project that is larger than this much, it extends further back. There's no way for the applicant to access any of that property.
well, this is just for county lot.
This is just for.
This is to county density, and then you get to do quality.
Right,
But if we can't do a longer road with the conservation, we said this point can't be.
Yes.
Thousands of thousands, right?
well,
Someone noted that our discussion said that based on. That gets to the right areas.
right,
For
You
example,
have a huge property and still only 5, 6, 7, 8 homes.
yes. But further back, so you don't see the road to one wall drive and that you kind of conform, instead of putting out a little hayfield, it was just 6 7. Yeah, you kind of help, has a little more in there. Maybe.
It just makes you think about one of the projects we had seen, which is a big property. And I wonder to myself, what's a reasonable number of houses, just thinking about this,
Yeah.
not 42, it's probably not 8, but it's some number of it. And it probably attending to the rural character for a very large piece of property. And like you said, this is something down the road, maybe it's not time.
yeah, no, I think it's okay to start just kind of planting that seed thinking about it. I don't know how you. Yeah, I don't, we'd have to give some thought to that. Because in a sense, under the old ordinances, using the Stetson project as an example, where he had that road that kind of wound through the he probably could have done that under the old ordinances. And he might have been able to put in a ton of houses under the old ordinances.
I don't think he would have gotten as many as he proposed because he didn't take out both.
The whole, unbuildable.
Yeah, right. I think he would have got more than what we.
I mean, under our new.
And I'm not advocating for one way or the other.
Yeah, I think, we just decided, I wrote a few points of entry in the system, to more trying to lock this in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was,
Yeah.
This is also a different property in county because it actually has a lot of road frontage. Whereas most properties, larger lots don't have that much road frontage. So on those properties, you're really limiting the number of allowable lot density. You know, in some cases, you probably only get 3 or 4.
but those never would have been able to go past 600 feet. If they're.
But with the old major subdivision, they could put a longer road.
No, not if they didn't have, they still needed to, in order to put along the road in, you would need to have an entry point, and it would have to meet on both ends. You couldn't just put it along the road in, it would have to be a through road.
So in the old ordinance, there was no limit. It just said you couldn't have 2 roads.
But it said
And
private dead end was only
600 feet.
That's the key.
in the major subdivision.
In the major.
In the road ordinance, it's a private dead end road was limited to 600 feet, it's still in ordinance.
Right.
Okay, yeah. I think that's the problem with our ordinance, though, Jim, is these different parts are scattered throughout. And it's really hard, to see like where all this is, but a private through road, I'm seeing your point very clearly.
Yeah.
So,
So I just go back to prior, prior planning boards and prior decisions,
Yeah.
it's the evergreen subdivision. That's probably a 1,000, 2,000 foot road.
Yeah.
And that was a major. Yeah. And it doesn't connect to another.
But that depends on when that was done and when ordinances, it'd be interesting to look up and see waivers, how that project actually happened, because it didn't fit with the ordinances as they were. That's what you have that.
Because we talked about that.
We did, yeah.
And we're trying to figure out. It was just like 20+ years ago, 30 years ago, it's just some different iteration of the words with that.
Or it may have been waivers. I don't know, is it possible to pull that up? It'd be interesting to see. Yeah,
I think one of the issues that we had that is in the, I see it right. Probably got that. That is today. Yeah, so that was the issue we were finding, is that with the 600 feet of road, we ended up with all these roads from that's passing away.
Yeah.
So as we're trying to prevent, use that to kind of do, they'll push these things back.
Right.
So we don't have multiple driveway cuts or driveway cuts, all these houses that are 75, 50 feet off the road. Where it just be nice to clean woods instead of. Yeah. So, the entire house is long, that's it, so he's got 600 over them. And at post frontage, trying to get your 90,000 net, seeing what you can actually fit, it's really going through serving the details for all of that. And that dictates your count that you have to apply to all those roads or strategic places of loss.
Okay, so moving with what we have in the ordinance right now, the feeling is that the scenario that you written up is good to follow.
I think so. I went through it a couple of different times and I haven't been able to find any discrepancies in it as it's written.
Did you have a question about the existing buildings? Whether that should be factored in?
There's all sorts of scenarios that have been come up. This, who knows when it's gonna come out? But I do have a kind of drawn out a scenario here that kind of like thinking on how this will be out. So sorry. Sketch. So we've got two lots, one's 50 acres, one's 15 acres, kind of within the 50 acres. Owned by the same person, but, you know, different names, some reason they're different people. So this person comes and wants to use the lot density, the minor subdivision, lot density subdivision. And go, you know, combine those lots, go right through, put a road right through one of them. Kind of ignore that parking lot. And then when they want to do the actual subdivision, conservation subdivision, I want to keep that lot. But with those same, you know, you end up with 7 additional lots with, you know, one kept. So
Wouldn't each lot be set of subdivision in that case? Right, but if you wanted to use this,
So-
you had to, this would be subdivision, lots of subdivision.
right, so definitely their argument might be that it's both my properties, I can put them together.
No.
I don't know.
And this just becomes a lot. One of the eight,
One
one of the 8. I don't know, I see a problem with calculating it that way.
Well, I mean, I think if you still have a lot here, that's a lot, so you can't be using it, that's maybe the residual lot, can you really use that lot for your calculation?
Well, I mean, so you could think about it in 2 ways perhaps. One, the owner could just absorb that lot into the existing 50 acres. So now it becomes a 65-acre lot, then do the calculation and then separate it back out as one of the subdivision lots.
But then you have a lot on the road which you're not allowed in conservation subdivision.
That would be a problem.
So the other thing about this scenario is that by ignoring the property lines, saying you know, they're combined, you're actually getting more lots of, otherwise, if you didn't, you just kept that out, you'd only have 4 lots instead of the.
Yeah. So I think that would be, I think you're right, that because this law,
Could you, I mean, if you actually went through the steps, could you subsume that lot, like legally and file a deed where the town would let it dissolve this lot and combine it into one? That's one taxable lot.
Yeah, you could combine your deeds. I mean, they go through the legal process of combining their deeds if they want to.
That is a feasible option.
Right.
Well, it's a possible option, but if this was old, you know, chicken house maybe, but it's a lot of cases, these are $1 million houses, you know. So there's, would this ever really happen?
You still have a house there that they want to keep.
Right. And it's $1 million house.
Yeah, I guess, I mean, my own question, you know, this whole exercise is kind of conceptual. So conceptually, could go combine. Right, so someone could physically go through that process. And come back and say, how, so that would be really great, you know, that.
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
But-
Put that into your plan. Yeah, a lot, that's just. The other part of the question is,
that could be a waiver. That could be overcome with waiver. They could request waiver to have. And this would be a situation, I would think, where that.
and then just 60% of it, that would be, we might have to. Right, 60% of it, are you saying this lot is 15 acres unprotected? Right, so now we're gonna go against your 6%.
Yeah, right.
So, assuming that, if this were a shallow one, might not be that we path. You serve part of this. Like that, I have a little separate, that's the conservation easement. That appears this conservation easement. Is the 60% oil.
Is it, I mean, with the limited, with only being able to use the minor subdivision, I see this coming up.
Yeah.
This problem coming up in the future, people trying to do this, so I think it's now trying to get a cash out now. What do we feel about that?
I think, I think they would, because every property would be an individual. I think what Mercedes and Brian came up with is kind of a good starting point. And then just like Stetson wants to come before us with this. And then all of us, you know, the CEOs, you guys, I think are valuable as part of the decision-making process. Is this okay? And then we could, let me just take it one. I don't think we're ever gonna get the thing that says, that predicts every single scenario.
What I'm trying to avoid is what happened last time, is that somebody came to you with a plan that really didn't work. And I don't want, as a CEO or a planner, I don't want to say, yeah, that works, and then it comes here. So that's what I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah, I mean, that was unfortunate, but that was like way wrong. I mean, there's no two ways about it. That wasn't even in the ballpark.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of density, only would be only 600 feet built in private roads, so the fact that we can't do something, that's just been.
And the town planner should have picked up on that immediately. And even if there's like, if you have a question, you'd have to guide to a degree, but then it's got to come before all of us.
It's your
anyway.
decision.
Yeah, right. But I wouldn't anticipate that you would lead something that far astray.
I think that this rigid boxing, that was one of my points last week, is, you know, he was trying to really stretch it, that you keep your farm, but you start kind of stuff as far walls. Like, he couldn't go necessarily out of resident. You still have to conform to the, you know, the width of the law and the setbacks, but, you know, someone, if this is truly all buildable, it's no unbuildable areas, might be able to cut some corners here and like, you know, use your rear area that is deep enough to pick up that sort of feet. But, you know, generally speaking, that's a conform to the dimension standards, all the setbacks that fit and all the setbacks.
Yeah.
It can't be just like this little 50-foot strip. This little piece here will go in that, you go out, and this next one.
Right.
This has, next, you got this little type of flag on it, which you never should have.
Yeah.
But there's some would try to squeeze that specifically out.
Well, with the minor subdivision, you're tied to 4 lots per road.
Right, I'm just saying, if you're running a factor.
Right.
So if you have.
Yes.
You might go here that price is small, but this one.
By extending.
Here, or just impressive in Boston, like this. And I think this right, what I did was, right, my announcement, is part of last time. I think we measured as the way it went up.
That was I looked into that, and that was my impression, that the right of way doesn't count towards road frontage.
Yeah, it was some specific.
So this, the lost in that they're the right of way doesn't count as road frontage and what?
Well, I think when you're doing just give a 12-foot road basis right away. You have 20 feet on your side, you're saying that in the house. You start getting 20,000 square feet. So you got 300 by 20-foot sections. Yeah. So we're just pushing it forward.
So 40-foot road, 60-foot right away, you have the road all the way to one side. Then that 40 feet doesn't count as lot density.
Well, it doesn't count.
So you have to, if you have a lot on the side of that, it have to be 360 feet. You know, just as an example, maybe arranged a different way, but it would have to be that 40 feet deeper and long.
Well, not that deeper and a lot wider, that's just like what's. So then it's all that stuff. Or it's one percent of the actual stuff. Yeah. That's the
Is it our intention to fold this into the ordinance or the graphic? Is that what we're thinking?
I thought we were thinking that this would just be a guideline that Tim and Bill could give to potential applicants to help them go through the ordinance, because the way the ordinance is written, it's not super clear.
And it could be on the web, posted on the web.
Right,
on the-
right. And if there were, based on this, like what Brian was saying, there's something that we feel should be then included in that actual writing of the ordinance, we could always talk about adding to the ordinance.
Yeah, I kind of think the first 4 bullets of it too. Some of the reasons for those could get dropped under lot density and such. It would be able to start getting those up because it just ties in the other disparate pieces.
Right.
Here we go to that.
Okay, to me, everything, for the most part, makes sense when it comes to calculating lot density. But how about allocating that density? For example, let's say we had this, you get your diagram, like take this piece of the left. Flip it over and you've got another parallel road. I can get 8 on this road and I get 8 on that road. So I've got 16 for a total lot density. Let's say I want to keep this one to its house, with the house and all this land by itself. Can I put 16 on the other road? That's allocation of that lot density.
And I think that, I would argue maybe to the 2 little photos that I had on the original one, that kind of showed that, in real life. So when we look up these conservation stuff, it's like, one will be gridded out in the old way, and then they'll show you that you really can, with our new parameters, condense those, if you're allowed that, condense those into one area, have contiguous conserved land over here, and all of your kind of parameters shrink down so you can crush those in. That's what we kind of want, is we want them noted, so that you're leaving more of the. But you're going way down to 90K, because 90% gets all, in real life.
But you could allocate them all over to the other side.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
In some parcels, we might want that.
Right.
Like this gorgeous field or a whatever. And of course, you've got to get that 60% conserved land. So the more contiguous, the better, but at the same time, every parcel will be different. So we'll want to work with each applicant to say, how do we retain what's there, but also get how many lots that you could have on that piece.
So this has got nothing to do with lot density, but that's an LPI, a cringe at the thought that I didn't have big lots. So it's just, you're gonna be polluting everybody's water supply. So I think that's an issue that really ought to be looked at.
Also traffic too, because suddenly you could be having, 20-something lots on one particular road. that quality has just 20 lots. Something to think about there.
We have a lot on County Road. Is that,
I don't think it's capped, but I mean, it says it may be reduced.
Yeah.
So it's kind of our discretion, it's not guaranteed. So I think, let's come to simple math and say you said 10, 100 years, you have 40 years. So you got 4 10 months. Or you train that to 1 or 2 years. If you just, you have one road that comes in 10, one walks off that. We dropped our frontage to 75 feet, so that's where you kind of can get these flag lots and we start putting.
So I think you saw Graham's proposal, he had a whole bunch of half-acre lots, all in 2 different areas. And that makes me think, yeah,
But he was forced because what did you try to do?
Yeah.
Right.
You don't. Well, dude. Right, so you do those same roads, I think, you outline the good building areas and preserve all the nice streams and stuff. But instead of having 20 half-acre lots on each of those roads, it might be 4 or 5. 4. So that's why that just looks so comfortable. That was never that.
Yeah.
Don't they have a cluster septic system? Is that better?
an engineered septic system is better, but engineered septic systems are also kind of a legal maintenance head. The association will have to have rules, something's gonna be charged with taking care of it. It creates a headache for the association. It can be done, yes, and it is done. But I think it's a lot better to have larger lots individual systems.
So I mean, that's something that, for a situation that we ask for an estimation of how.
And it is written in here,
Yeah.
as mentioned, system. If you have lots, that's.
Yeah. For those, I don't know if you know, but in North Yarmouth, with the little gas station, they've got a couple subdivisions. There's a ton of houses on very small lots. So they're not sewer.
I can't answer it, I don't know. They put, either that or they have the engineered septic system
Yeah.
somewhere.
Those lots are tiny. So are we good to start using this? Is everybody in agreement on that?
And you've got. We say all conservation subdivisions, so at least 650 feet of road frontage. Don't think we have that.
into this.
But that's not part of the lot density calculation. That's
But it
just,
goes back. You know, it's
right, but that doesn't need to be
just-
in this, because this is purely just a lot density calculation. Assuming they already met the other requirements. I would guess.
I would agree with that, because I think we meant this more as like a worksheet.
Yeah.
That, so if you didn't hit 650 dead, you wouldn't even hit this.
It's.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think we were trying, because there's so much that could be tangential, so it was just. Can we give them something that references actual things in larger? But yeah, you didn't. The worksheet.
So with that in mind, go
Yeah.
back to my scenario, say that they're, by adding that smaller lot, they get 650. Yep, this is so big. But then when they calculate lot density, they get it that way, or they can develop it that way. Then when they come with their plan, they put that back. Is that not gonna apply?
Theoretically, if they can combine to make it one lot, we can get that far.
I mean,
As long as
yeah.
they combine.
Well,
Well, it would, but then they would.
Separate that out.
Yeah. So. But yeah, it's still your fine. We don't specifically say, I think that's one thing that I had ten, is that the driveway has to go off the line. I think that got.
How it's still in there. It is, I'm pretty sure it is.
Keep pointing it out.
But in the conservation.
Not,
Whereas for the purposes of capital, that's the part of mine, jumping ahead to conservation. So I think we thought by philosophy we had that. What we really don't. That was true. We were reading right through this, from two into. Section 5, and this, said, but we had to apply that, we were. Started right on that stage where it's fine. And then when you figure that out, the conservation, that's when this. Well, it was fine. So I guess, got this. Our intent is that it just comes off. Right. I would go here, this would put you. Yes.
But again, that could be, I think, this is actually an interesting case. And I think this is kind of why the sketch portion is important. Because there's a lot of potential moving parts. And we can see it at this stage and then help guide the applicant. Well, okay, this is my intent. At the slot, are we really gonna make him go through the exercise of combining these two lots so we can get his 650 only to separate it out afterwards? I don't, like, to me, that wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. We could see that, we could talk to him about waivers and circumvent some of the, the hoop jumping.
so if a case like that comes up, Bill and I are gonna have to say, I can't make that decision.
For sure. Right, but this might be a waiver you might ask for.
Yeah.
And this is what we need to talk to them about, because these are the complications. And yeah, right, you can't say that we're gonna let it happen, but I think that would be very feasible. And by catching it early enough in the process, they're hopefully not wasting too much time if it's not gonna work out.
Yeah, there's a bullet, says any new drive. Showing new prior pros on, so that kind of just.
Right. Yeah, right.
So we could.
Yeah. Even if you needed to, right?
Does the prior subdivision thing have? If we assume that this was kind of.
Which
Like there's that nuance somewhere. We used to something like this. Happens in any way, that would be able to provide.
No, as long as it's been more than 5 years, they just have to come back to the board to have re-subdivide. Or maybe, an abutter split it off, or if they split it off, and then it's not a subdivision, so you can kind of.
I think we're gonna see a lot of different things like that.
Yeah.
We put a lot of into this where it's kind of. Trying to be collaborative. Not a lot of what time years.
Yeah, and I think that's really the point is working with the applicant, trying to come up with the best scenario. We're not here to not allow them to do that. We just want to try and do the best for town. Follow the spirit of the ordinance. So I would say that Tim, you could use this if everybody's comfortable with that. Yeah, no,
Yeah, I'm wondering if we need one statement, and I don't want to add any more words to this. Brian, did we say that when you're doing the conceptual one, like you don't have to worry about right of ways or setbacks or anything, you're just doing that? Like, you know what I mean, like, that you don't have to set. You know what I mean, like, you don't have to push anything, you're just working with. And would that matter? I just don't wanna make it too, make them jump through too many hoops. Like, it's a very simple math problem, with the exception of the right of way, I think, like, as I read through this. I just,
That first sentence of two kind of gets at that.
okay,
So you're applying dimensional requirements of minor sub, which is very simple. And then we say move frontage. Actual. Communication upon removal areas, that's. That's very kind of key areas to get to, and it's not just the paperwork design. Draw out squares and factor the action.
correct, and that stuff, yeah, but,
So that being said, so if there was a big hill in here and you couldn't get sight distance off one of those roads, are we gonna ignore that, or are we gonna allow them just to say, hey, you could have fit this many on that property with all careful?
Well, no, that's the thing, so we mentioned that, the road where you're not seeing 10%, you're talking about the slope, or there's a steep hill.
If they couldn't get sight distance coming out of the proposed road, it's not gonna be.
I would say no.
I would lean towards, yeah, like, you could still, I would lean towards.
still-
you could still count that.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
But I said, no, we're not gonna be concerned about site distances on a fictional road.
It's 50% of that is.
That's a problem.
right.
Yes.
So we're kind of picking and choosing what we wanna ignore and what we don't.
Yeah, right, we are.
I'd say, but really, my first step, I really want to see just one sheet where you can't build. As a,
Mm,
and then start putting,
Well, that's,
because this kind of does make it look awfully simple.
yeah, but that's one of the requirements. One of the first requirements in the conservation subdivision is a map of the property, what's buildable.
Yeah, so we have that at the end. The lot density map should be overlaid on the required pieces.
Yeah.
That should have.
That is a good point about the site distance, though. We've got some roads that are very questionable.
Like I said, the only frontage is on this tight curve, then you kind of use it.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of cases like the Victory. We had to move, Bill and I went out there, looked at where he first proposed the road, said that's not. We don't care, luckily he had just not moved the other ordinance. To move to the other side. But we're figuring, we're figuring the lot density, we're ignoring that.
And even on the Brown Road, I think we can find some major issues just because it's very low in that particular area.
A lot of places that probably they're not gonna get sight distance.
And that would be relevant to buying some,
That would be relevant, yeah, mindset.
so.
But I mean, but that's gonna take field work to go up there and say,
Right, that's kind of.
if this were word here.
I can't,
So, I mean, kind of this existing feature map, so we kind of.
that's already done, right?
So, yes, this is a throwaway exercise, but it's key to how we build that. So. Is relevant.
I think it's relevant with such a short, when we're going to about 600 feet. I see a difference between wetlands and this is a road that I've never built. just so that I get that lot, that's just so I can get that number, so I'm seeing the point where I'm also grappling with it. So, and with wetlands, they would have in there, and it takes away from the total. Whereas with this, we're just trying to get to the number that that land can't. And we are the ones who are putting 600 foot. Length, you know what I mean, so I think we don't, I don't know, I just see a difference.
My argument is that road would never be there, it's same as wetlands.
Yeah,
They didn't have the site distance, the road still would be. It's the same as wetlands, it's just different thinking about it.
Yeah.
but with wetlands, it's gonna be there all the time, with this, I'm never gonna, like, I'm moving this. Just trying to get to how much land is the total parcel. I don't know, I know.
I think, you know, the point that you were originally making, Tim, about we're limiting what people can do. And so we've got to select what restrictions, like, if we were to do site distance, now we just took the number of lots that they could build and shrunk it even further. And so this is like what we were talking about for months and months, how do you balance all this stuff? So I think that's one thing that is, we don't need to worry about it.
So how do we write that into the ordinance so everybody is treated the same way? I think that's the key, is we have an ordinance that doesn't spell it out, so 10 years from now, we have a totally different plan, they might see it.
Oh.
Right. Well, nowhere, I mean, nowhere, yeah. Maybe that's a change. I mean, we could put that in. We could put that specifically in the little cheat sheet so that it sets precedent. And then maybe add it to the ordinance at some point.
Just so that they'll be considered and not be strictly measured, it's glaringly obvious. But again, that kind of creates ambiguity.
No, I'm sorry, my job is the whole thing ordinance. Because there's some people that have big hats.
Simplicity is.
I would just, yeah,
So in that case, if there was no site distance, you wouldn't be able to.
right.
Or.
This week.
Well, that's not an imaginary road, which doesn't make sense.
But I mean, it is built on steep slope every 2 to 4 miles.
But it's an imaginary road.
But it all depends on the form. So if it's a bigger one, slope is something. So if you only have 650 feet of top.
Oh, well, right, then you wouldn't, but then in that case, you wouldn't be able to put in the road for the conservation subdivision anyway. So you, again, it's like a non-starter, you wouldn't be able to do the project.
Mhm.
So once you start getting something above 5 says things.
They wouldn't find that out until they actually have a real plan for a real route.
Yeah.
And then they
There's an aspect of this that's totally contrived though, because in real life, these also have to be 700 feet away, you know what I mean? So there's an aspect of this just looking for the number, because we have such a strict restriction on that 600 feet.
Yeah.
Because in real life, we can't actually put these two roads here.
Right.
They're not 600, they're not 750 feet
Yeah.
apart anyway,
Right.
so. In a conservation. But this,
Well, as soon as you put two roads in, it
It's-
becomes,
yeah,
you could only put one of those in for a minor.
Yeah.
as soon as you put two in, it's everything.
But we're still gonna use the map because this is how we get to the number. But you would never
I
actually.
would
do
never need
this.
to build that.
Yeah, you would never do it. But we are gonna see. We're just gonna push it back.
So with what you just said, with what Fran proposed before, or what you might come back with is a bunch of 600-foot roads.
You
That
can't do that.
so he can only have one 600-foot road.
No, we're gonna do that for calculating lot density.
Right, he couldn't actually build that.
He couldn't do it, but for calculating lot density, that's what he has to do.
Right,
So we're ignoring something there as well.
Mhm.
So I guess we're picking and choosing what we're ignoring.
That's why I'm not necessarily agreeing with you all, it's like, it's because. We're just trying to get to a number for a road that will never be built.
Right.
We're taking away the wetlands, if we're actually taking that out of the parcel, we're taking that away from the acreage.
yeah,
Where in this thing, I'm just trying to count how many lots, so that I know how many lots. I have access to.
so I think we're in agreement, you're
Oh,
saying, you're saying we shouldn't consider site distance.
I don't think it's fair.
Yes, I'm agreeing 100%.
But, so when, let's say someone comes with this scenario. And we know the road and we go out there and we tell them. There's a good chance a road safety assessment would say you can't put a development in there.
That's a different question.
Yeah.
That's a non-stop, that's can you even put the development
Right.
there? Not, that's before you even get to this calculation, so that's like what Brian was saying about having 650 feet. If you don't have the 650 feet, you can't do this project. If the road isn't, if you can't put a road in of any kind on that frontage, the project is not gonna happen.
So if the road can't be used, so if a road could never be there due to road safety issues. They couldn't be used for the calculation.
Because they couldn't put the subdivision in the first place.
So I think you have to.
That's just opposite, what Bill just said is opposite than what you just said, so if you. And I hear you, right?
Yeah.
I'm not arguing against it, but, so we're not looking, Bill, we're not looking at site distance at all for calculating lot density. So, but, if in this case, there was no site distance for this lower road down here, but they do have site distance for this conservation, they can have,
Right,
as long as they
exactly,
have 600.
right. Right,
Yeah, so like if you only, this is 660 feet, right, assuming total clear, if you just had that 6. And asphalt, so you could have rolled that.
Yep, okay. But as long as the final road does have. site
yes, yeah, right,
distance.
right.
Okay, another scenario that might come up. Let's say, okay, this. Okay, if he doesn't have site distance. Then. If it turns out there is no place to put a road, even after. On this diagram, this road still does not meet site distance. So all these calculations are gone.
The development doesn't happen if there's no.
Right.
No, what's anywhere on the.
That- Yeah, and it's game over.
Of course, in this particular case, what I'm talking about, could since those lots couldn't be counted, they couldn't be shifted to the other parallel. road.
Yes. They could,
You see,
if there were, if this lot, if there's a road here. And there was no site distance here. You could take these lots and they had site distance on this side. You could put the road in.
Okay. I just want to understand.
Yeah.
The thought process. and
But
where
there's
this
these two, is that you and Mark, what about the entire fund? Like huge portion of it is wetlands. I guess you could fill some. Or see, like you could bridge it or something.
You could fill a percentage. So, and that's the other thing calculate what density based on the wetlands is. You can fill some of those wetlands, so, I mean, if they wanna get the most lots they want, they gotta figure out how much they can fill on each lot. So
Just have to get it covered.
Can we just go back? I do want to put the lot densities to bed. Are we all happy with how that's written?
I think at this point, it's better than what we had. I would really appreciate it if Bill and Tim could start using it.
Yeah.
And like they are really good at, like flagging or
For
something.
sure.
I
It's not a
think,
permanent
yeah,
document.
it's not gonna get any better.
Right.
Until we start to use it.
Yeah.
It's also not ordinance.
Right.
This is not ordinance. This just
Guideline.
refers to ordinance and helps our efforts.
It's like the checklist and everything.
Right.
else.
So let's start using that. And we put it on the website wherever it needs to go.
Do you have that electronically?
What's that?
Do you have that?
I don't.
I have one from Brian that was in August, is that the latest or is that? It came as a,
Right, could you just,
Send this to
Zip.
the-
it came as a zip file. That's the latest one I'll send it to, everybody.
everybody,
I mean, I'll send it to everybody, but also Jamie.
If I could use some flag, there's one of us to do.
Well,
Just to take a look at it before we. Yeah.
see, this is what it looks like when I made the PDF.
Oh, that's not good. Okay. I know.
I can key up and set the drawings as a file as it is to. Word document as PDF.
yeah,
I mean, I made a PDF.
Yeah, that's a great. Both pages.
yeah.
Oh, that'd be nice. Yeah, I can't.
Now, since we've had this discussion, this might negate the need for the workshop that we were considering at the end of the next planning board meeting. Tim and I might be able to walk through another sketch plan, but. there remains
Yeah,
some-
I mean, yeah,
Because now that we understand it better, we can relate to the, well, Mr. Graham.
yeah. And I think that's what, you guys are the first ones talking to these folks.
So again, you know, there are gonna be times when we're not gonna have the answers. We're gonna have to send you something that's not quite ready.
I think that's perfectly fine. And I think that, like, we knew going into this that there was going to be, and that I think the applicants need to understand this too, that there's gonna be some back and forth, that we are gonna need to be flexible. They're gonna need to be flexible, but we're hoping to work with them. We're not here to say you can't build, we just want it to be thoughtful. And so, like, when you guys are chatting with them, you can relay, like, expect there to be a little give and take back and forth. And if they're respectful and not asking for the moon, I don't get to work with them, sure.
So moving on to,
Yeah, let's move on.
so I want to give you. There. Already see.
Was this fit, under mobile home parks where you said need to add language saying all structures must remain in single ownership when there are multiple dwellings on the same property? Is that something that you wanted to add under mobile home parks?
If I could that out of something. So in, I think that's wrong, sorry, all lots should be.
Yeah,
all
okay.
structures.
Yeah, that makes some sense.
So in James' scenario, he said two different things different times. He said, he's gonna own the lots and they're gonna own the
Right.
homes and vice versa. So I think, and I looked it up in main law and that's allowed.
Either way,
But all the lots need to be owned by the single.
yeah,
owner.
right. But it doesn't matter who actually owns it.
It doesn't matter.
I love this on the first page, the height.
So,
So it's time to flatten the windows and all that.
right now, somebody could come in and say, I want to put up a 300-foot window and we can't review it. We don't, we just say, here's your permit.
Well, as a structure, especially something that would be 199
Right,
would be considered a structure.
So anything over 199 feet, the FFA gets involved.
Okay, I was gonna say that, let's go.
Yeah, 200 feet is the FAA. So,
Is that the only reason that 200 feet was moving that was selected?
Is that still pretty tall?
It's still very tall for a residential.
yeah,
But there was a, down east, there was a town, they were gonna put a 500-foot flagpole.
Oh, yeah, Cherry, Bill, Cherry Field like that.
Right, and that was in the news for 3 years, that the planning board was fighting. So, they probably didn't have anything on it.
right, right.
That's a word that we call. Those are the voice of reason.
So our cell towers currently,
Cell towers have their own ordinance. So there is a cell phone ordinance that is that any cell phone tower puts construction.
because it says here communication towers, that's what.
Maybe this is out of the old ordinance, so maybe they were talking about the camp radio.
Oh, right.
What's the height of the cell tower? Is that an ordinance?
It's in the cell phone tower ordinance, so I'm not sure what to be honest. So it's just stuff, put them up,
Put a limit as a something for that.
Yeah,
put something out there, so at least you guys get to review.
right.
If it's based on acceptance. So acceptance for all of those violations, okay.
Right. And I just picked 50 feet, I figured. Look at the 50-foot window, the neighbors may not. If something that's.
Well, what qualifies as I don't know, is that, I don't know, temporary. Well, it has the small head, solo style. Is this?
You have to maybe put that definition as well. Anything that's not natural, that's man-made, is actually a structure.
I would think that.
a person came in with one of the permit for a 199-foot flagpole. And I said, that's a structure, so you'll have to go site plan to use. But it'd be nice if it was very much clarified, so when you've got that.
There's a definition for
There is.
structure, anything built for the support, shelter, or enclosure of persons, animals, goods, or property of any kind. To together with anything constructed or erected with fixed location on or in the ground, excludes fence. Then it goes on. Includes decks, includes structures such as decks, satellite dishes, and then they talk about floodplain management, so.
So it could be simplified, saying you can nominate other than this.
Well, a windmill, a flagpole is not sheltering persons, animals, group, or property.
But it mentions a satellite dish.
Next to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's in the ground.
Constructed with fixed location. Yeah.
So what would be the best way for, what would be the best way for us to, for example, rewrite that definition? And also these and present them to you that you would consider a final format?
I think that definition actually. Yeah.
Yeah. It's got the fixed,
Right, it's got silence, I mean, on that too, you could expand that to windmills, holes for power generators.
Can't think of everything.
Right.
yeah, I don't think it's something else. So we're fine.
But we may have an opportunity perhaps in a few months for a special town meeting, so it would be nice if we could get as many of these changes part of that meeting.
So, so under 504, under 3, it's making an exception for windmills and flagpoles under height restrictions. But we're adding back those height restrictions under 2. Am I reading that right?
Would that be like a little bit, or would it be, it's an exception, but once I go over 50 feet, I have to,
But that was my intention,
Right.
a little things.
a small home, something that's not commercial, something that's home, like their power. Like if you put up, if you're putting up, solar panels and you're putting them up for your own use, then it's really, it's a building. Yeah, you see these in people's yards. They're not intending to sell power back to the grid, they're to service the home. But if they're gonna put something in that they're actually intending to sell power back to the grid, then it's actually a commercial use, and it's a special exception.
So under 3 height restrictions, should we consider height requirements shall not apply to farm buildings not used for human habitation, and then eliminate those other or not eliminate those other items and just say under special.
You're right, I would agree with that. Eliminate the windmills, flagpoles, and power wind generators or communications towers. And because those should be covered under 2F, correct?
So, but if you do that, you're gonna have to hear every flagpole that wants to come to town, every small windmill that wants to come.
As long as it's under
35 feet. 2.5 floors, so.
Yeah.
Or 35 feet.
Okay.
Which that would be, I think,
So I guess this,
fairly rare.
this will allow things from, those particular things from 35 feet
To 50.
to 50 and beyond 50.
We're saying 50's a little, like, we need to check that out. Okay, that makes sense. I got it.
So commercial buildings. Slope through, so that can get 45 feet for this. But I guess you have nice enough, it doesn't say this. It's a farm, and it's only says it uses 5 purposes.
Right.
And what else to do? It's got the greenhouse, even just a big commercial warehouse or something along there. Push it to 40 grand. Box.
How tall is this?
How is that?
It's not the,
I
oh,
think, no, I think it's that one commercial. That's a.
Yeah.
Something like that, across the school.
yeah, yeah. That would fall under a site plan review though, and I don't know, there's restrictions.
Well, do we want just a bar? I mean. I don't know, so, I mean, reason why people want to hire. Say, with 5. I guess you're gonna do the bills with 5.
It was either Durham or Yarmouth. They limited, or one of the both, one of them limited the height to 35 feet and the other was 40, and they didn't mention windmills, flagpoles, and wood generators. In that limitation, was said nothing.
But I guess the way it was written before, you could have 100-foot tall barn.
Right.
Yeah.
So I guess we're just creating a new 50-foot limit, but even that is pretty high, that's
Right.
40% higher than the residential structure.
I think if there's anything there underneath the kind of the special exceptions, communication powers, generally, but if there's anything you think you would rather see any of that on here, no matter what, over 35 feet, we can just cross that off.
Well, I guess that, I think all our number has to fall in industry and manufacturing. Whereas just out of a special setting, see it now. So I guess that's what we're going to.
You see it anyway, you know that there's no height restriction. I don't know, I have to look at the site plan review.
Yeah, I didn't remember if there's height restrictions. Does anybody have that site plan review?
Timmy, you're saying that, we could just keep number 2 and change F to whatever height, somewhere between 35 and 50 feet, and then delete section 3?
You could do that, but I don't, I think the 2.5 is 35 feet. You know, for certain things like flagpoles, you know, for example. If you don't want to see every flagpole, you know, somebody wants to put up in the front.
Yeah, right. Right.
We'd be here.
Over 35 feet, I don't think any, no. I doubt many people are gonna want to put, there won't be a lot of people I've seen it put anything up over 35 feet, right? And if it was over 35 feet, you would see your flagpoles are pretty tall. Mine's. That's all, they're pretty high.
Oh. I'm sorry, I scanned quickly.
I didn't see you.
We can look that up.
Yeah, we can, but we don't, I don't think we need to, I think it's great having these conversations. We do need to start thinking about deadlines to get, like, if we're gonna get changes for town meeting in June, we should work back and figure out when we need to have all of our changes ready to go. Because we need to have 2 public hearings. And all this would need to go before the select board. Yeah, so,
No, in January, February. is what-
So I think we had public hearings last year, March.
yeah,
Because it has to get into the warrant, which has to be, pretty far in advance, like, you know.
so we should think about having something final, January, February.
I think you need to have it pretty well wrapped up.
Yeah.
So it might be a final vote.
Yes,
February.
and what we can do is, like next month, the October meeting, we're doing this because we're not gonna have any time to talk about this then, but we don't know what's going to happen in November, right, in January. So if it's coming close, we've got a kind of a deadline. It should be, we should have everything wrapped up by February. If we need to throw in another short one of these, jobs to get it sorted out, I guess.
I'll ask Becky the hard thing.
Yeah, right. So I think that's the important thing. So we don't need to figure everything out tonight, but I think it's great to start to have the conversation.
Most of these are gonna sail through, because if you remember, well, maybe except for the exception, they go on the farm homes part. Remember last year, nobody really had any comments.
Yeah,
It's not like it used to be.
yeah.
So the next one is under accessory dwellings. And again, the state changed the law on this again. It does not, the owner does not have to live on the same lot. The way it was, the owner had to live in one. We changed that. And then, I just think it's a good idea, it's not in the state law. G is a good idea just because, I'm thinking of condos. If you have something, if you have somebody that, or, a lot, and they're selling the structures on the lots.
Right,
So then it becomes a tax collecting nightmare.
right.
And it might be a good idea to let everybody know, okay, you build it, you want it,
Right.
you can't sell
Right, so all of
it.
it's
So you have to sell this all. Yeah, so if you build an accessory dwelling on your property, you can't sell just the dwelling.
Right,
Unless you, like, you unless you come.
Unless Unless you can carve it off through subdivision. Yeah. Then you can sell it. If it's on the lot that you can't legally here subdivide, then you won't, or the property.
so, I mean, I think our ordinances would disallow that anyway, but this is just kind of stuff.
I bet in chats with other communities.
Yeah.
They're already experiencing this.
Yeah, okay,
So it's kind of, just kind of.
yeah, no, I get that.
So the next one, I think we went over this last time. But, right, especially wanted to sand and gravel, exceptions to take them.
Yeah.
Why that is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And the under 807 changes there are the site distance requirements, but now the ones that we have in our ordinance are not, don't correspond with what the state has. So, we have to, right now, we have to rely on ordinance. Change that. And there's quite a bit of difference.
Yeah,
Yeah, huge difference. And the 901 was something you pointed out, yeah. And something that I noticed, and that should be 902, sorry, to 902, it's got the wrong statute. You look at 902 in the ordinance. That, I looked up that statute, and I don't remember what it's about, but it's nothing to do with what's happening. So there's, when the legislature changed the statute, ordinance, and it didn't catch it.
Oh.
Tim, may I ask a question going backwards? Right? Yeah. Are there any pending applications where these changes in site distance, would actually make a change there?
That's another question. And then I have my glasses, but looks like 50 and 350 are crossed out.
We don't have 50 mile.
They tried it.
Yeah.
Go there.
It's not 55 on Merrill.
Yeah, maybe we should keep that in there. There's still-
Probably better to.
Might as well keep it in. Have whatever numbers they have.
Yeah, I think they go, their dart goes up to 7.
One more, so back to the site plan one. We're adding accessory structures. That's a key, so every EDU will have a part of site plan review, or file.
Accepted. Exempted.
Exactly.
Oh,
So the way it was, residential structures and this said accessory. So I'm assuming that accessory.
That's right. I think the only thing that we really need to kind of chew on would be the height. And what we want to do with that.
And mobile home.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, yeah, we're, and we can pull things from other towns ordinances.
Okay.
Like
Yeah, that'd be good to see.
foundations, pitch roofs, shingle roofs, siding. Take the languages, residential like siding, something like that.
Okay. Okay.
The other thing we got to start, Bill,
Oh.
the other thing we have to start looking at is the overlay district for mobile home parks. The word in the statute is, I should have printed it off, but it lends me to believe that it's multiple sites. I think you have to have more than one spot. And it's gotta be it can't be town and land where it's never gonna be sold. It's gotta be someplace that it could happen.
Right.
So I kind of. Just kind of set it out a couple of places where, okay, it could go here, could go here. Just that, this is off the facts maps and, this is in one corner of town, this is, in the north panel. That's actually John Morrison's property.
Yeah.
Most of it, and this one is over off the Tuttle Road. And it's an area that it could happen, and then honestly, it could happen. There's but the river, I think will kind of limit that some. But again, we gotta pick places where, we gotta make some neighbors mad. We gotta pick some places.
With that too. I
I
know.
looked into Gloucester, Gloucester has two, and I looked at Gray, they have 3 or 4. But I haven't seen any one.
And we have,
We had.
And we currently have none,
We have one,
or we have one,
but it's
okay,
a
we have
town,
one.
That's on land.
Got it.
and that's what the state is saying.
Right. The statute says it has to be someplace where it's put at, basically.
But if we approve one, that counts as one of our twos, and one more place.
So the other thing is if you approve, if one is approved and already there, you can't say no to extension, no matter whether it's in that just overlay district or not.
You can just continue to buy on one.
You can keep on growing.
can you say that sentence again?
So if there's one already in existence, and you create a district elsewhere, don't include that in the district, they legally can keep on growing, even though it's outside of the district chosen.
But that can be one of our 2 districts, and that district could be that lot, or they can keep growing off it, but that one lot could be district wall, or separated.
Yep. So another thing is Phil found, of some towns, I don't remember which one it is. They're saying you have to have 20 acres.
Right, right. They have districts and then they also have in their mobile or ordinance, they'll actually say this is Durham. The minimum is 20 acres for a mobile farm.
I like that.
So that way you don't.
Right. Yeah. I like that.
Just go through state review.
It does.
Second page. It's
Yeah.
20 acres.
So it kind of takes it out of our hands.
But that's actually excluded. Is it restriction?
I thought the district, I mean, didn't like we previously, the district we did have was literally a lot. One single lot.
Yes.
So I think we might have a well that is a district, right? And so
But it could, the Shane, I mean, a person that would come in and try to buy that from the town for that purpose, and then the town says, no, you can't buy it, it can't happen.
right, so I guess what I'm saying is we have potentially one that is prime. That way we're just, if we have to have 2, we just, you're saying we just change that town on that. Fix the one.
Right.
Like a district would be law. Isn't that the easy?
Yes, it would be.
Like all of it.
Right, you could click on John Morris and say, you're it. Could we click on you and say, you're it?
I'd be interested, because right now, it's, basically my understanding from what the lawyer told town is that anybody can just propose a mobile home park on any property. And because of the way the ordinance is written, it's not really a special exception. It's, how do they phrase it? It's an accepted use, essentially. And so we have to consider it.
In my conversation with Ben, our attorney now, he said that you need to create a local district where you're gonna allow them, or they can go anywhere that your ordinance. Right now, we changed the ordinances last week to take them allowed under a special exception out of the one district. Just because we already had one in the works in the district that it's in the works in right now, couldn't do that.
Okay. Got it. But we could conceivably expand on, just like you were saying, Durham, make certain restrictions on the property that's that we chose. Right. Or the area. Like the property needs to meet certain requirements. I think that might be interesting to kind of pursue that and see what other towns are doing. Not necessarily to restrict, mobile home parks. But to, if they are gonna, if somebody's going to do the project that it should be in the right, it should be in the right location.
Judging by what you've done with the conservation subdivision, and trying to get visually,
Right,
keep the town safe, I think that we can do that.
exactly.
We've set precedents that we want to do that. And I think we can do that with the mobile home park too. We can say, okay, we're not gonna see it from the road.
Right, and that's kind of, that's what I'm getting at. So do we need to actually consider making some adjustments to the mobile home park ordinance?
Yes.
So that it is not on the side of the road and that it is, I mean, then it's acceptable. I mean, it's, nobody's against it. Just let's make it so that it's more aesthetic.
I think, that language is already in there with 50-foot buffer zone, with a lot of with fire plantings and things like that. I mean, in the right location, you could do that, but in some locations, you're never gonna hide that.
Right,
I think that is going to be the concrete plan to put a few more layers in.
right.
I think I think that would help, especially when we're trying to balance all these.
Right.
So how do we kick that off? I mean, Tim and I have been getting pretty familiar with all the ordinance state requirements of all the mobile home parks in the area. How do we kick off,
I would say,
updating the ordinance?
I would say, one, we need to get permission from the select board to review the ordinance. So they would, I think they would have to give us permission. And then they can give us permission to start working.
Because, that's something that we can also, we could, let's start this,
Yeah, for sure.
and they're working.
Oh, would.
I don't know, they're short-handed right now, so I don't. know. Something else.
Yeah.
So I can send an email to the select board just asking if they would like us to, and I'll CC everybody.
Well, yeah, you could say, and, I mean, I could write it
Yep.
as well and say, this is what we would, this is the problem that we're running into. Looking down the road, I think we need to make some adjustments to the.
Because one of my specific job duties is to look at ordinances and, like, Tim's do, if that was assigned to me.
Yeah, and I'll do that. Yeah, go ahead. I'll say do that.
It is, I understand it's mandated that we have to, or they could build anything.
That's the way I read the line, it's mediated, and like, Billing said. It's if you don't have it, it can go anywhere. And we had it before, when we could put it anywhere, except the villages. You allow it there. So the other thing I can do is I can send you the link to the state statute on mobile parks and on mobile homes, actually. You guys can read through that. Just form your own opinion once in a while.
Okay.
It's pretty dry.
Yes.
I think the only bummer, not to draw, but the only bummer districts is, it'd be nice if we had some criteria for those districts, otherwise are we putting it in one neighborhood versus another in town? And so even if it's like away from our roads that go very fast, just to have something,
I think you're right. I think we need to really study this and figure, okay, where do we want that density?
yeah,
We don't want it over an aquifer, we don't want to be careful on where we allow that. So visually is one thing, but also environment. And we don't want to put it on farmland where we're going to be taking away what we really enjoy seeing.
What's the status of the village center planning? I know that we decided there's sufficient water. But is there anything else happening?
No.
Okay, I mean, if there's a committee, right, that's we started.
I think they're meeting tonight downstairs. Economic development.
Stepping back a little bit on, mobile home park. Done a little bit of research on our old, ordinances and various other towns ordinances.
You think, that, another committee could take on, but I'm just thinking about the workload of the planning board. I don't want this responsibility. I have zero interest in selecting park towns that, mobile home parks to go. That's something that I don't want to.
I think we could ask the select board to create.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't want to.
It's a nuisance.
Yeah, we have enough.
Well, we can update the ordinance without doing this.
Yes. I think we should update the ordinance.
And here are a few pieces that could go in that ordinance and are in some other ordinances that are recommended. For example, you'll see, actually a rent control ordinance, basically to get ahead of the problems. And a lot of these will help the town, help the developer and help the residents as well. Also a, checklist on, what are the requirements for the water supply? Like, when our wells go out, we usually get a generator when power goes out. What happens to the water of development when the power goes out? We're gonna get a big area that has no power. And also, they've got if they get a septic system, their septic system is down, they can't even touch the toilet. So basically the requirements for, your septic. There's a bunch of other requirements that we could actually put into the ordinance. For example, the ordinance could say that the septic design for the mobile home park must have an area that would be suitable to build a second field in case when the original field fails. That's a very acceptable thing to do. It's not unreasonable. Yes. Right. Yes.
So that's what they talk about. Generator or alternative power source shall be installed in compliance with blah, blah, blah. Which to power. Yeah.
I think you can still require that if you think it's necessary. You can. I think that can be, if somebody is not put that in plan.
And it's not unreasonable. It's just, we don't usually think about it until we were there and then Carl's started. The main thing in my home is that some showers, flush it over. That's it. And then I can turn the generator off.
Okay. This was interesting. So these are just ideas for.
Yes, for now.
Correct.
Yep, this would be something that'll be, perhaps rolled into if we do rewrite our whole home ordinance, has to be drafted.
I think that's a really good starting place. Okay. Did you guys have anything else?
No, a lot of things I have are really almost small things like require 2 sets of legal size stamped envelopes. Require high resolution diagrams to be copies to be submitted with the 3 hard copies. Sometimes we get, the postage stamps and zoom up, you can't see that. All little, things to really make it clear for everybody.
Okay. And those would be in the ordinances, or is that?
Yes, we'd actually change that. Right now we just say require 2 sets of stamped and addressed envelopes. So we got a little envelope. Yeah,
Just right.
So I'm wondering, the gentleman spoke about wetlands. We don't have a wetlands ordinance. We have no requirement to have delineated wetlands out there. So I'm wondering, do we need to tighten that up?
You don't have the requirement to delineate the weapons.
Well, the latest plan that we looked at lacked that. They were, approximate boundaries from the national wetlands. Ground survey. I don't remember seeing that they have to.
I think you have the ability to require or ask. I'll look at, I'll do some studying and make sure that's correct. I think you do have the ability to ask.
Yeah, I didn't get to look at that today either. Yeah, I was gonna look for that specifically about the wetlands. If it's not in the ordinance, doesn't mean we can't ask for it, especially if there are concerns. For example, in the ordinance, we talk a lot about safety in the ordinances, but we don't specifically say a road safety assessment, but we can require that. Under the definition of safety.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Got one more thing that is this, lies is coming up, coming in. So in I think in Apple Blossom,
Yeah.
there's cul-de-sacs. So
Yes.
for those cul-de-sacs, because it was a major subdivision, or do we allow cul-de-sacs in a minor? So
No, that was, I wasn't on the planning board at the time, but my understanding, and we'd have to go back and look, was that was a collaboration between the planning board because the applicant went before the planning board and basically said, I can do it through the road. I can put in 24 plus homes. I don't want to do that. I want to put in 12 homes. Can we work on this? And so they gave them a waiver to allow, I think the road's a little bit longer. I think it's 700 plus feet, if I remember right. And they allowed them to do the cul-de-sac to get another home. So they have on my side, on the railroad side, they have 5 homes around the cul-de-sac, and then they have one on the other side of Harvey Brook.
Okay.
So I think that was all waivers as part of the negotiation.
So in the ordinance under 610, 610C1, frontage along a road, public or private, shall have a minimum depth of 40 feet. Road frontage shall not be measured off by hand. Well, we don't require hand fencing, so I flagged that for change, and they require a turn lane. So that being said, then you go to 2. The approve a new public or private road within the town, the planning board shall be directed by the following criteria and take these to the place. We have 10, which basically this is, it shows you the term. And then we'll just use this. The geometric standards and stuff like that. So that leads me to believe that this is what you have to have. And you cannot count the road front on that turnaround as Rockwood.
Yes.
So I'm just. So if somebody wants to come and they want to do the cul-de-sac and not road frontage on, I'll send it to you guys and say it's gonna be a special.
It's gotta be weird.
It's gonna be.
Even a conservation subdivision?
No, this is on mine. Conservation subdivision, I haven't read it good enough to know, but
I don't think we precluded.
No, we didn't. Yeah, this would be for a minor.
yes, this is for a minor debt. 600.
Yeah, that would be weird.
Seven.
Just going back to this for a second. your checklist for. This work. That could be for any shared system, not just.
Ah.
So that could be your conservation system, there's no ground that.
Yeah,
Shared
Yeah.
system.
right.
Yeah.
Just one more thing real quick. I think we'll call it. Did we figure out how we are supposed to ask for peer review? Do we have?
Yep.
Can we go over that real quick? I have.
Yeah, I can read it to you. Then, oh, you did a great job.
And then calls the town.
This is it, yeah. Let's see. Here. Yeah, I'll read it to you. Basically, town logo, applicant name, et cetera. Third party review, escrow account. Dear applicant, the town of Pownell received your application for a site plan review or just your plan review on a certain date under section 807A1 of the Pownell land use ordinance. The planning board may require an extra consultant or consultants to study and report as to the compliance or non-compliance with the plan standards and advise if necessary the procedures which will result in compliance. Such consultant shall be fully qualified to provide the required information and shall be mutually acceptable to the town and the applicant. Costs shall be borne by the applicant. The planning board anticipates retaining services of one or more qualified experts, including but not limited to a qualified planning consultant, that's a North Star, and qualified legal expert, then all, to review your proposals. Once selected, we will confirm your consent to their retention per the ordinance. In order to cover the anticipated costs of retaining these experts, the town requires an advance escrow deposit of $5,000. The sum will be deposited into a non-interest bearing account segregated from other town funds. It will be used to pay invoices received from the third party experts retained by the town. In the event that the balance of this account falls below $500, the town will require an initial deposit of $2,500. Following the planning board's completion of its review, any unspent balance will be returned to you. Kindly provide a check for the amount of $5,000 as the initial escrow deposit at your earliest convenience. Delay in the receipt of this deposit may cause a delay in the planning board's review of your project. Please contact me directly with any questions. So that was from that.
Okay.
Why is the town to pay for it? Why would they just pay for that?
I think it's to make sure that it does get paid and create, for example, let's say, I'm gonna have you fix my tire, you're gonna fix my tires, but you're gonna pay for it. Well, I'm not gonna do that, you know, so it's basically to make sure that the person does get paid. Well, that's why if it goes below $500, the person will have to come in with another $2,500. Depending on the.
I think when you're talking peer review, the expert is just reviewing what the.
Right.
They're not.
So you're not.
Right, and that was my impression from talking with Ben and all that stuff. It's just a review of the work that's already been done. If there's a problem.
Right.
If there's a problem.
So now we have a question of, you know, if an applicant does not want to do that and wants to just pay for them, like you said, on their own, are we going to accept that?
No. Right, I don't think I would. I think I would. Do as the attorney said, set up the escrow account. That way you have the funds and everything would be paid for. It's very clean.
And the report is being done for the town.
Yeah.
That's what,
So that we own.
Yeah, it's paid for by the town through the escrow funds.
right. So no, I would definitely. Okay.
Because it's for the town for the planning board to review some other.
Yeah, we want to submit it from that. Reviewer to us.
Yes.
Not through that.
Correct.
Exactly.
So it seems to me like this is something that should come out of the planning board in a public process.
I think you're right, and I think we didn't have any clear guideline on what we were supposed to do, so that's why we contacted the attorney this time. The letter that we get is a generic letter that you have to use going forward.
Yeah.
It may come as a surprise to an applicant. But they would. Which is why I wish it had come through us in a public process.
But it does say in the ordinances that,
We can.
we can, yeah, so I mean, it's clear that that's a possibility.
Right.
That-
Right, oh, yeah.
For sure.
I mean, it shouldn't be a surprise based on conversations.
Right. Okay. So with that, fall, roll. It rolls. Okay, well, okay.
Yeah, this was great.
That's my concern. Sorry, whoops.
No, I was thinking since.
Yeah.
So recording on.
Okay, yeah, you good?
So I'm just gonna clarify on something I've mentioned before, that it would be good if the town put out an RFP for peer review, so that we wouldn't have to go every time to pick a consultant ourselves and go over.
So one of the issues there is that the applicant has to agree. So if we had one, if the applicant didn't agree, no, I don't want that one, then, you have to pick another one. If the applicant did. So if we had a list of people we can choose from, we can, I don't know, retainers of that word, if we, have them agree that, there'll be our list of 3 people, on a list of 3 people, or 3 drawings, then that, but I don't think we can pick one and go to that person every time.
Okay.
But they're doing the work for us. But what you're saying is the
Applicant has to agree to
the choice.
who's, yeah, to the choice.
So we do that.
And it has to be different from the one the applicant used, so
Right.
if you would limit yourself to one in a small town.
Then this is-
Yeah,
Yeah.
Beautiful.
yeah.
Should that be a list?
Yes. Yes.
Where they have to.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna ask them about that. I thought that was kind of strange too, because we could have a scenario where the applicant doesn't agree to any of them.
Except some fly by night Charlie's.
Yep.
And shingle.
Yeah, well, but then that would fall back on if they don't agree on any of them,
You're right.
we don't get the information, we just deny the application.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think if they're given, let's say, 3 different choices and they don't like any of them, then
then,
they're kind of so long.
Yeah.
right, that exactly.
And maybe have the license and certifies.
Yes.
It's somewhat. It's qualified.
Right.
It's gonna be our choice that he's gonna agree to it. So
Yes.
I suspect it'll be,
should say.
I suspect the format will be, here's 3, we're happy with any one of them. You choose one of these 3. That's what I figured.
Okay. Done.